Welcome back to part 2 of the video here. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at, this is actually our example number 9. It's our first word problem here. So we're going to talk about Dante. Dante spent $11.25 on 3 new and 4 old comic books. Samantha here spent $15.75 on 10 old and 3 new. So we're going to write a system of 2 equations that represents the amount of money each person spent on comic books. So there's 2 things we're talking about. So I'm going to label those my X and my Y. So my X's are going to be my new comic books. So anytime I talk about my new comic books, I'm going to write an X. And then anytime I talk about my old comic books, I'm going to write a Y. So let's write our first equation here for Dante. Dante bought 3 new, so 3X, and 4 old, so 4 old. And he spent a total of $11.25. So now we can go ahead and we can write one for Samantha. Samantha bought 10 old. Careful, old is my Y value. And 3 new. And she spent $15.75. So now we're going to go ahead and we are going to solve this by elimination. So remember, we want one of our variables to cancel out. So right now, none of them do when I add straight down. They're both 3's, but remember 3 plus 3 is going to give me 6. So they aren't going to cancel right now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply this top equation by a -1 so that I can make this a -3x. That way they're both going to cancel when I add straight down. So now let's go ahead and do that. My x's cancel. I get 6y is going to equal 4.5. Solve for y now, so divide by 6. So y is going to equal 0.75. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take that and we're going to plug it back into one of the original equations for the y value. So I'm going to get 3x plus 4y equals 11.25. So I'm going to do 3x plus 4 times 0.75, 11.25. So I get 3x plus 3 equals 11.25. Subtract your 3. So 3x is going to equal 8.25. Divide by 3. So x is going to equal 2.75. So now remember, a problem with words needs an answer with words. So my new comics are going to equal $2.75 each. And my old comics are going to cost me 75 cents each. Okay, so let's look at example number 10. Amy is walking a straight path that can be represented by the equation -2x plus y equals 3. At the same time, Kendra is walking the straight path that is the equation 3y equals 6x plus 6. At what point will the 2 girls be in the same place? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at this one. Here's my first equation. I have -2x plus y equals 3. So the issue is Kendra's equation is not in standard form. And remember, we need to be in standard form before we can solve this by elimination. So I'm going to put the x on the other side here, which means I need to subtract 6x. So I get a -6x plus 3y is now equal to 6. So now when I add these straight down, I want them to cancel. And right now they don't. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply the top equation by a -3 so that they will cancel. So I'm going to end up with a positive 6x, a -3y, and that's going to equal a -9. So now if I add these guys straight down, my x's cancel, my y's cancel. So I'm left with 0 things on that side. And now I get a 6 plus a -9, so I get a -3. 0 does not equal -3. This is a false statement. So we end up saying, remember, this is a no solution. They will never meet. The girls will never meet. So remember, false statements equals no solution. If this was true, if it said like -3 equaled -3, that'd be a true statement. So that would be an IMS, an infinitely many solutions. So here's our last example of the notes for today. So a shipment of TVs, some weigh 30 pounds each and others weighing 50 pounds each, has a total weight of 880 pounds. If there are 20 TVs altogether, how many of each type of TV are there? So I have two things I'm talking about again. So my X's, I'm going to say that's the number of 30 pounds. So anytime I talk about my 30 pounds, I know I'm dealing with X's. And my Y's are going to be my number of 50 pounds. So anytime I'm talking about 50 pounds, that's going to be my Y's. So I have 30-pound TVs. So 30-pound TVs and 50-pound TVs in a box or in a shipment. And they are going to weigh a total of 880 pounds. These are all dealing with pounds. So I know that I want an equation of just those together. So now I've used those numbers. I can't use them again. So the only thing I have left is this 20 here. So I know I have 20 TVs total. So I have my number of 30-pound TVs and my number of 50-pound TVs. And when I add them together, I know that I need a total 20. So now this is an elimination problem. Remember, we want them to cancel or eliminate one of the variables when we add straight down. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply this bottom equation by a -30. So I still have the top equation, 30x plus 50y is going to equal 880. And now my bottom equation is going to become a -30x minus 30y is going to equal a -600. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add these straight down. My x's cancel out. I get 20y is going to equal 280. Divide by 20, divide by 20. So y is going to equal 14. And we're going to take that and we're going to plug it back into one of the original equations. Now I usually pick the top one, but I like the bottom one this time because it's going to be really easy to solve for. So I know that y is now going to be 14. So I'm going to subtract my 14. So I get x is going to equal 6. So for my 30-pound TVs, I have, remember those are my x's, so I have 6 of them. And for 50-pound TVs, those were my y's, so I have 14 of those. So I want you to go to Unit 2, Practice 3, and try some of these problems. If anything is confusing at all, please come find me. Let's talk through some examples and really make sure you're understanding this before you get to your quiz.